The words, "You ruined my life," would echo in my head for weeks after my ex screamed them at me. But honestly, I was just getting started with the life-ruining business. See, 3 months ago, I thought I was living in some kind of romantic comedy. You know the type, successful marketing executive, that's me, dating this charming contractor named Jake, who could fix literally anything except, apparently, his compulsive need to lie about every goddamn thing in his life. I'm sitting here now, scrolling through the comments on that Facebook Live video that destroyed his world, and I can't help but smile. But let me back up, because the story of how I became a one-woman wrecking ball starts with the most cliché discovery in the history of cheating boyfriends. It was a Tuesday. Isn't it always a Tuesday when your life implodes? I'd left work early because my boss actually told me to take a mental health afternoon. Shocking, I know, and decided to surprise Jake at his place. We'd been together 8 months, and I was starting to think about maybe, possibly, potentially moving in together. God, I was such an idiot. The spare key was still under that stupid ceramic frog by his front door. Who the hell decorates with ceramic frogs? Should have been my first red flag. I let myself in, planning to maybe start dinner or at least clear the disaster zone he called a coffee table. That's when I heard the shower running and voices. 2 voices. My stomach did this weird flippy thing, like when you're on a roller coaster and you suddenly realize you might actually die. But my brain was still in denial mode, manufacturing reasonable explanations faster than a politician during election season. Maybe he was watching Netflix in the bathroom. Yeah, right. Maybe he was on a work call with his business partner. At 3 p.m. on a Tuesday in the shower. Maybe I was having some kind of stress-induced auditory hallucination. I wished. I crept closer to the bathroom door, my heart hammering so loud I was sure it would give me away. The voices got clearer, and that's when my world officially went sideways. Jake's voice, low and intimate. God, I missed you so much. A woman's voice, breathy and familiar in a way that made my skin crawl. I know, baby. 3 days felt like forever. 3 days. 3 fucking days. I'd been texting him goodnight every single one of those 3 days while he was apparently playing house with someone else. My hands started shaking, and I pressed myself against the wall outside the bathroom door like some kind of discount private investigator. The rational part of my brain was screaming at me to leave, to preserve whatever dignity I had left, to handle this like a mature adult. But the other part, the part that had spent 8 months believing this man's lies, the part that had been planning a future with someone who was apparently auditioning for the role of boyfriend in multiple productions simultaneously, that part needed to know everything. When do you have to be back? The woman asked. Not until Thursday. She thinks I'm doing a job in Buffalo. Buffalo. I had literally packed him snacks for his Buffalo job. Bought him those gross protein bars he liked and everything, because I was such a thoughtful, caring girlfriend to a man who was using my care as cover for his extracurricular activities. The shower turned off and panic shot through my system like ice water. I needed to get out of there before, "Hand me that towel, would you, babe?" The bathroom door was going to open any second, and I was standing there like a deer in headlights, frozen in my own personal nightmare. Fight or flight kicked in, and for once in my life, I chose flight. I practically sprinted to the living room, my mind racing faster than my feet. What was I supposed to do? Confront them? Pretend I hadn't heard anything? Set the place on fire? Okay, that last one was just the rage talking, but honestly, it had appeal. I grabbed my purse and keys, my hands still shaking so badly I could barely function. But as I turned to leave, something caught my eye on his coffee table. A second phone. Not his usual iPhone. This was some basic Android thing, sitting there face up with notifications lighting up the screen. Without thinking, I grabbed it. The screen was unlocked, because apparently Jake's operational security was as solid as his relationship ethics, and I found myself staring at a text conversation that made my knees literally weak. "Missing you already, heart, can't wait for our weekend in the Catskills," from someone named Ashley, sent yesterday at 11:47 p.m. While I was texting him goodnight from my own bed, thinking he was exhausted from his fake Buffalo job, I scrolled up, my vision getting blurry from tears I was too angry to let fall. Months of messages, photos I definitely didn't want to see. Plans and promises and intimate conversations that sounded exactly like the ones I thought were special between us. But wait, it gets worse. Because Ashley wasn't the only one. There was Melissa, and Sarah, and someone called Red, who sent pictures that made me want to throw the phone across the room. Each conversation read like a highlight reel of my relationship with Jake. The same pet names, the same promises, the same bullshit lines about being so happy and never feeling this way before. I was one of at least 4 women, maybe more, all getting the exact same performance. The same man who told me I was different from anyone he'd ever met was literally copy-pasting that line to half the female population of our city. Standing there in his living room, holding evidence of his systematic deception, I felt something shift inside me. The hurt was still there, sharp and brutal, but underneath it was something else. Rage. Pure, crystalline, focused rage. This wasn't just cheating. This was a business model. Jake wasn't just a cheating boyfriend. He was running some kind of relationship Ponzi scheme, and we were all his unwitting investors. I heard the bathroom door open and voices getting closer. Time to go. But I wasn't leaving empty-handed. I shoved the phone into my purse and got the hell out of there, my mind already spinning with possibilities. By the time I got to my car, parked 3 blocks away where he wouldn't see it, I was crying so hard I couldn't see to drive. But through the tears, through the humiliation and the devastation, one thought kept surfacing. He was going to pay for this. All of them were going to know exactly what kind of man they were dealing with, and I was going to be the one to tell them. I sat in my car for an hour, scrolling through that phone, screenshotting everything, building a case like I was preparing for trial. Because in a way, Jake had turned our relationship into a lie, but lies have a funny way of catching up with you. Especially when someone with a marketing background and a talent for social media gets really, really motivated to share the truth. That night, I went home and did something I'd never done before in my life. I started planning revenge. Real, calculated, systematic revenge. And honestly, it felt better than crying. The next morning, I woke up feeling like I'd been hit by a truck driven by my own stupidity. You know that moment when you first wake up and for about 3 seconds, everything's normal? Then reality crashes back down like a piano falling from a 3rd-story window? Yeah, that. I lay there staring at my ceiling, Jake's burner phone charging on my nightstand like some kind of toxic artifact. My first instinct was to call him, scream at him, demand explanations that would probably just be more lies wrapped in apologies. But something held me back. Maybe it was pride, maybe it was strategy, or maybe I was just too emotionally exhausted to deal with his inevitable gaslighting routine. Instead, I did what any rational person would do. I called in sick to work and spent the entire day going through that phone like I was conducting a federal investigation. And holy shit, what I found. See, I thought Jake was just your garden variety cheater, a guy who couldn't keep it in his pants and got sloppy with his lies. But this was so much worse. This was systematic, organized. This was a man who had turned emotional manipulation into an art form. I made spreadsheets. Yes, spreadsheets. Don't judge me. I coped through data organization. Ashley from the texts I'd seen? She thought she was his girlfriend too, had been for 6 months. She was a nurse from Albany who worked night shifts, which explained why I'd never run into her. He told her he was a freelance consultant who traveled for work. Different job, same travel excuse. Melissa was a teacher from Syracuse. They'd been exclusive for 4 months. He told her he was in construction but worked mostly out-of-state contracts. She was saving up money to move closer to him. Sarah lived in Buffalo. Actual Buffalo, not fake job Buffalo. She was a single mom who thought Jake was her boyfriend of 7 months, and the first guy who really understood her situation. He told her he was a project manager for a tech company, and Red, whose real name was Rebecca, lived right here in town, about 15 minutes from me. She was a bartender who worked weekends, which explained why Jake was always too tired to go out on Saturday nights. To her, he was a small business owner trying to expand his contracting company. Each woman had been carefully selected based on her schedule, her location, her vulnerabilities. Ashley worked nights, so he could see her during the day. Melissa lived far enough away that visits had to be planned in advance. Sarah was isolated with a kid and no support system. Rebecca worked when normal people were socializing. And me? I worked long hours and traveled for conferences, giving him perfect cover for his other relationships. We were all feeding his ego, his wallet, and his sexual appetite on a carefully managed rotation. Some of us had been loaning him money. Thank God I'd never fallen for that one, though he'd definitely hinted. Some were providing emotional support for his business struggles. All of us were giving him a place to stay when he needed to be working out of town. The man had basically created a relationship timeshare. Sitting there on my couch, surrounded by printed screenshots and color-coded notes, I felt something I'd never experienced before. It wasn't just anger, it was clarity. Pure, focused, strategic clarity. Jake had weaponized our emotions. He'd studied us, learned our patterns, figured out exactly what each of us needed to hear. He'd built an entire life around exploiting women who were just trying to find someone to love them. This wasn't just about cheating. This was about predatory behavior. And predators, in my experience, only stopped when someone made them stop. That's when I started planning what I would later refer to as Operation Truth Bomb. The beauty of having a marketing background is that you understand audience engagement. You know how to craft a message that people can't ignore, can't dismiss, can't scroll past. And Jake, bless his manipulative heart, had given me the perfect platform and the perfect audience. See, Jake was one of those guys who lived on social media. His Facebook was full of gym selfies, motivational quotes about grinding and building an empire, and carefully curated photos that made him look like some kind of entrepreneur lifestyle guru. He had like 3,000 friends and was always posting about his hustle and his journey. What he didn't know was that I'd been quietly building my own social media presence for work. My personal Facebook had maybe 200 friends, but my professional accounts, my LinkedIn, my Instagram, between my job in marketing and my side hustle doing social media consulting, I had access to networks he couldn't even imagine. But more importantly, I had something he didn't: the truth. The plan started simple. I was going to out him, all of him, to everyone. But as I sat there thinking about it, plotting and scheming like some kind of revenge mastermind, I realized that just posting screenshots wouldn't be enough. People can dismiss screenshots. They can claim they're fake, taken out of context, whatever. No, I needed something bigger, something undeniable, something that would force him to face the consequences of his actions in real time, with no opportunity to spin or manipulate or control the narrative. That's when I remembered that Jake loved Facebook Live. He was always going live from the gym, from job sites, talking about his mindset and his goals. He thought he was some kind of influencer, building his personal brand. What if I went live instead? The idea hit me like lightning, not just posting about what he'd done, but going live while confronting him about it, making it impossible for him to deny, to gaslight, to twist the situation, forcing him to react honestly, publicly, while hundreds of people watched. But I couldn't just ambush him randomly. That would be chaos, and chaos doesn't create the kind of clean, devastating impact I was going for. No, I needed to be strategic. I needed to set the stage, control the environment, make sure the maximum number of people saw exactly what kind of man Jake really was. So I started with reconnaissance. I spent the next week acting completely normal, texting Jake like nothing had happened, being sweet and supportive while he fed me the same lies he was probably telling 3 other women. Every conversation made me feel sick, but I pushed through it because I had a job to do. I learned his schedule better than he knew it himself. Tuesdays and Thursdays he was usually with Ashley. Weekends were Rebecca time. Melissa got Mondays, and I apparently had Wednesdays and Fridays when he wasn't traveling for work. But more importantly, I learned about his social media patterns. Jake went live every Thursday night at 8 p.m., usually from his apartment, talking about his week and his goals for the upcoming weekend. It was this whole routine. He'd set up his phone, turn on some mood lighting, and spend 20 minutes basically talking to himself while occasionally reading comments from the 5 or 6 people who actually watched. Thursday night was going to be perfect. While I was planning Jake's downfall, I was also doing something else, reaching out to the other women. Carefully, anonymously, strategically. I created a fake Facebook account, basic profile, no personal photos, generic name. Then I started sending friend requests to Ashley, Melissa, Sarah, and Rebecca. Nothing weird, just the kind of random friend request people get all the time from accounts that might be friends of friends. Once they accepted, I could see their profiles, their posts, their patterns, and what I saw broke my heart all over again. These weren't just names in Jake's phone. They were real women with real lives, real feelings, real hopes for the future. Ashley posted pictures of scrubs she'd bought for work and talked about saving up for nursing school. Melissa shared photos of her classroom and her students' artwork. Sarah posted about her daughter's soccer games and school events, always alone, always hopeful about her boyfriend finally being able to come watch a game. Rebecca shared photos of latte art and talked about her dreams of opening her own coffee shop someday. They were all good people. They were all being used. and they all deserved to know the truth. But I couldn't just message them out of the blue. That would seem crazy, possibly fake. No, they needed to discover the truth in a way that felt organic, undeniable. That's when I refined my plan. I wasn't just going to expose Jake to his social media followers. I was going to do it in a way that reached all of his victims simultaneously, in real time, so they could see not just his lies, but each other. So they could understand that they weren't alone, weren't stupid, weren't at fault. The Thursday before my planned confrontation, I did a test run. I went live on my own Facebook account, just a casual, "Hey everyone, testing out this live video thing for work?" kind of post. It got about 30 viewers, mostly coworkers and family, but that was enough to confirm the technical side would work. Then I started planting seeds. I began commenting on Jake's posts more frequently, tagging him in things, basically raising my profile in his social media ecosystem. Nothing suspicious, just being a more visible girlfriend. I wanted his followers to recognize me, to know who I was when the time came. I also started following some of his friends and regular commenters, building connections that would ensure maximum distribution when I finally posted. In marketing, we call this audience development. In revenge planning, I called it building the blast radius. By Wednesday night, exactly 1 week after I'd discovered his lies, everything was in place. I had screenshots of everything. I had a fake account connected to all his other victims. I had his schedule memorized. I had his social media patterns mapped out. I had built an audience that included his friends, his family, his co-workers, and most importantly, all the women he was manipulating. I'd even prepared my talking points, like I was getting ready for the most important presentation of my career, which in a way I was. The goal wasn't just to hurt him, though I'll be honest, that was definitely part of it. The goal was to make sure he could never do this to anyone else. To create a digital paper trail that would follow him wherever he went, whatever new identity he tried to build. I wanted to make Jake famous for all the wrong reasons. Thursday morning, I texted him like always, "Hope you have a great day, babe. Can't wait to see you tomorrow." He responded with his usual bullshit, "You too, beautiful. Thinking about you." Probably sent the same message to at least 2 other women. That afternoon, I took a personal day and spent it getting ready. I did my hair, my makeup, picked out an outfit that would look good on camera but also professional enough to be taken seriously. This wasn't just about revenge, it was about credibility. I set up my laptop in my living room with perfect lighting and a clean background. I tested the Facebook Live function 3 more times. I arranged all my evidence in order, printed and digital. I even wrote out key points on note cards because I knew that once I started, adrenaline was going to take over and I needed to stay focused. At 7:45 p.m., I sent Jake one last text. "Miss you. Hope your work meeting goes well tonight." At 7:50 p.m., I opened Facebook and started setting up my live video. At 7:55 p.m., I took a deep breath and reminded myself why I was doing this. At 8 p.m., exactly when Jake would be starting his own live video from his apartment, probably talking about his goals and his authentic life, while living the biggest lie imaginable, I clicked Go Live. The first words out of my mouth were going to change everything. The red "Live" indicator appeared on my screen, and for a split second, I felt like I might throw up. 3 people joined immediately, probably expecting some boring work-related content since that's what I usually posted, but tonight was going to be very different. "Hey everyone," I said, forcing my voice to stay steady. "Thanks for joining me. I know this is unusual for me, but I have something really important to share, and I think some of you need to hear this." The viewer count ticked up, 8, 12, 15. I could see names I recognized, co-workers, college friends, my cousin Beth who lived in Portland and always liked my posts. But more importantly, I could see Jake's name appear in the viewer list. Perfect. So I want to tell you all about my boyfriend, Jake Morrison. Some of you know him, some of you have seen him in my posts. Really great guy, right? Successful contractor, always talking about his goals and his hustle and building his empire. I held up my phone, Jake's burner phone, making sure it was visible on camera. Well, it turns out Jake's been building more than just his business. He's been building something else entirely. 23 viewers now. Jake's name was still in the list, which meant he was watching. I wondered if he was starting to panic yet, or if he still thought this was just going to be some generic relationship post. See, last Tuesday I found this phone at Jake's place. Not his regular phone. This is like a whole separate phone that I didn't even know existed. And what I found on this phone... I paused, taking a breath, letting the suspense build. What I found on this phone is going to blow your fucking minds. 37 viewers. The comment section was starting to light up with fire emojis and OMG what? Messages. I could see my coworker Jessica had tagged 2 other people. The algorithm was starting to work. Jake Morrison, and I'm using his full name because I want everyone to know exactly who I'm talking about. Jake Morrison is not just my boyfriend. He's also the boyfriend of at least 4 other women that I know of. Maybe more. The viewer count jumped to 52. Someone had shared the stream. I'm talking about Ashley Chen, a nurse from Albany who thinks she's been in an exclusive relationship with Jake for 6 months. I'm talking about Melissa Rodriguez, a teacher from Syracuse who's been planning to move closer to her boyfriend Jake. I'm talking about Sarah Williams in Buffalo, a single mom who thinks Jake is the first guy who really gets her situation. And Rebecca Martinez, right here in town, who has no idea that her weekend boyfriend has a Wednesday-Friday girlfriend sitting 15 minutes away. 78 viewers. I could see Jake's name disappear and reappear in the viewer list. He was probably refreshing frantically, trying to figure out what the hell was happening. Now, some of you might be thinking, maybe this is just a misunderstanding. Maybe there's an explanation. So let me show you the explanation. I held up the first screenshot, angling it toward the camera. This is a text from Ashley, sent yesterday at 11:47 p.m. Missing you already. Can't wait for our weekend in the Catskills. Now that's interesting because yesterday at 11:47 p.m., Jake was texting me goodnight, telling me he was exhausted from his job in Buffalo. 112 viewers. The comments were coming fast now. Wait, what? Is this real? Oh shit! Get him, girl! I can't believe this. But wait, there's more! I said, channeling my inner infomercial host because honestly, what else are you going to do when your life becomes a dark comedy? This is Jake telling Melissa he can't wait to build a future together. This is Jake telling Sarah that she's the most amazing woman he's ever met. And this is my personal favorite. This is Jake telling Rebecca that he's never felt this way about anyone before. I flipped through the screenshots like I was giving a PowerPoint presentation to destroy someone's life. Which, let's be honest, I basically was. The same lines, people. The exact same fucking lines to every single one of us. We all got the "you're different" speech. We all got the "I've never felt this way before" routine. We all got the promises about building something real together. 163 viewers. I could see names I didn't recognize, friends of friends, people who'd been tagged, strangers who were probably just here for the drama. Good. The more the better. Now, Jake, I know you're watching this. I looked directly into the camera, and for a moment I felt like I was looking directly at him. Hi, baby. Surprise? I found your side phone. I found all your side girlfriends. I found your whole fucking system. The comment section exploded. He's watching? This is insane. Screenshot everything. Where is he? Call him out. 207 viewers. Someone had definitely shared this beyond my normal circle. But here's what really gets me. I continued, my voice getting stronger as adrenaline kicked in. This isn't just cheating. This is systematic emotional manipulation. Jake didn't just get sloppy and end up with multiple girlfriends. He planned this. He built this. He created an entire system designed to exploit women who were just trying to find someone to love them. I held up my printed spreadsheet. Yes, I brought visual aids to my own life's destruction. Look at this schedule. Ashley works nights, so he sees her during the day. Melissa lives in Syracuse, so visits have to be planned in advance. Sarah is in Buffalo with a kid, so she can't travel spontaneously. Rebecca works weekends, so she's not available when normal people socialize. And me? I travel for work and put in long hours, giving him perfect cover for all his other relationships. 251 viewers. The viewer count was climbing faster now, which meant people were definitely sharing this. I could see comments from people asking what was happening, people trying to catch up, people demanding more details. We were all chosen specifically for how our lives would fit into his system. Our schedules, our vulnerabilities, our needs. He studied all of it and used it against us. Ashley's been loaning him money for his business expansion. Melissa's been supporting him through his rough patch. Sarah's been giving him a place to stay when he's working out of town. And Rebecca... My phone started buzzing. A call from Jake. Perfect fucking timing. Oh, would you look at that? Jake's calling me right now. Should I answer it? What do you think, everyone? The comments went crazy. Answer it. Yes, do it. Put him on speaker. This is better than Netflix. Answer the phone. 312 viewers. I answered the call and immediately put it on speaker, holding the phone up to my laptop microphone. What the fuck do you think you're doing? Jake's voice came through, angry and panicked, and I felt this rush of satisfaction that probably wasn't entirely healthy. Oh, hey, Jake. I'm just having a little chat with some friends about relationships. You know, sharing experiences, comparing notes, that kind of thing. Turn off the fucking camera, Emma. Right now. See everyone? There's that charm that won me over. Jake, say hi to everyone. You've got quite an audience here. 347 viewers. I could see people in the comments recognizing his voice, people who knew him reacting in real time. Emma, I swear to God, if I don't what, Jake? If I don't stop telling the truth? If I don't stop sharing the evidence of your lies? What are you going to do, break up with me? Plot twist. I already know you're breaking up with 4 other women at the exact same time. I could hear him breathing heavily, probably trying to figure out how to control this situation like he'd controlled everything else. This is crazy, Emma. You're acting fucking crazy right now. There it is, everyone. The gaslighting. Right on schedule. I'm crazy for having evidence. I'm crazy for telling the truth. I'm crazy for not just quietly disappearing so Jake can keep running his little girlfriend timeshare program. 403 viewers. The comments were a mix of support for me, outrage at Jake, and people trying to figure out what was happening. Jake, tell everyone about Ashley. Tell them about Melissa. Tell them about Sarah and Rebecca. Or better yet, tell them about the weekend you're planning in the Catskills with Ashley while you're supposed to be at a work conference next weekend. Silence on his end, but I could hear him moving around, probably pacing. Emma, we need to talk about this privately. Oh no, see, that's where you're wrong. Private is where you do your best work, isn't it? Private is where you lie and manipulate and gaslight. Private is where you make women feel crazy for questioning things that don't add up. We're not doing private anymore, Jake. We're doing very, very public. 462 viewers. I could see someone in the comments saying they'd sent the link to someone named Ashley, asking if this was her Jake. My heart started racing. Were the other women starting to find this? Besides, I continued, I think some of your other girlfriends might want to join this conversation. Ashley, if you're watching, hi. Your boyfriend Jake is currently on the phone with his Wednesday-Friday girlfriend, while his weekend girlfriend is probably getting ready for work at the bar. Jake hung up. Of course he did. And he's gone. Shocking absolutely no one. But that's okay because I have so much more to share. 518 viewers. The comments were coming so fast I could barely read them, but I caught glimpses. This girl is a queen. I know this guy. Someone find Ashley. This is the best thing I've ever seen. Get his ass. So, let me tell you about Jake's business model, because it really is impressive in the most disgusting way possible. See, he told each of us a different story about what he does for work. I thought he was a contractor who traveled for big jobs. Ashley thinks he's a freelance consultant. Melissa thinks he's in construction but works out of state contracts. Sarah thinks he's a project manager for a tech company. And Rebecca thinks he owns a small contracting business. I pulled up more screenshots on my phone. Different jobs, same travel excuses, different personalities for different women, same manipulation tactics. He customized his entire identity based on what each woman wanted to hear. Ashley wanted someone stable and professional. He became a consultant. Melissa wanted someone ambitious. He became an expanding business owner. Sarah needed someone who understood single parenthood. He became the understanding tech guy with flexible hours. 607 viewers. This was getting shared way beyond my social circle now. But here's my favorite part, and Jake, if you're still watching, you're going to love this. I found the notes. I held up screenshots of what looked like a notes app. Jake keeps notes on his phone about each relationship. Our schedules, our preferences, our weaknesses, our emotional triggers. Like we're clients in some kind of fucked up relationship management system. The notes were genuinely disturbing. Emma works late Tues, Thurs, travels monthly, likes expensive dinners, daddy issues, insecure about career. Ashley, night shifts, wants kids, worried about money, responds well to future planning talk. Sarah, single mom, lonely, easy to guilt trip, needs constant reassurance. 712 viewers. This man literally took notes on how to manipulate us more effectively. He studied our vulnerabilities like he was preparing for a fucking exam in emotional abuse. My phone started buzzing again. Texts this time. I could see Jake's name popping up with message after message. Oh look, more communication from Jake. Let me share these with everyone. I read his texts out loud. Emma, please stop this. You're ruining everything. We can work this out. I love you. I love you. There it is. The same "I love you" he's probably texted to at least 4 other women this week. Jake, which one of us do you love? Or is it all of us? Are we like a very complicated polyamorous situation that no one consented to? 843 viewers. I could see comments from people who clearly knew Jake, people who were tagging others, people who were absolutely living for this drama. Then I saw it, a comment that made my heart stop. "This is Ashley. Is this real? Are you talking about Jake Morrison from Albany? Holy shit." She found it. She was here. "Ashley," I said, looking directly into the camera. "Ashley, if that's really you, yes. Yes, this is real. Jake Morrison, contractor/consultant/whatever he told you he was. The Jake who's planning a weekend in the Catskills with you while he lives with his Wednesday-Friday girlfriend." The comments exploded. People were telling Ashley to stay, asking if this was really her, offering support. The viewer count was climbing past 900. Another comment caught my eye. "Is this about Jake M? The one who works weekends?" Rebecca. And Rebecca, is that you too? Jake's weekend girlfriend who thinks he works for a tech company during the week? 967 viewers. This was insane. This was better than I could have ever imagined. More comments started appearing from people who seemed to know Jake. "I went to high school with this dude. He owes my friend money." This explains so much. Jake Morrison is trash? Everyone, I think we're witnessing something beautiful here. We're watching Jake's carefully constructed web of lies collapse in real time. Ashley, Rebecca, if you're really here, I want you to know that this is not your fault. None of this is your fault. You didn't miss red flags, you didn't fail to see signs. This man is a professional manipulator who made it his full-time job to deceive women. 1,012 viewers. Over 1,000 people were watching Jake Morrison get destroyed live on Facebook. It was everything I'd hoped for and more. Jake spent months learning exactly what each of us needed to hear, exactly what buttons to push, exactly how to make us feel special and chosen and understood. He weaponized our desire to love and be loved. He turned our trust into a tool for his own gratification. The comments from Ashley and Rebecca kept coming. Ashley, "I can't believe this is happening." Rebecca, "I feel so stupid." Ashley, "How many of us are there?" Rebecca, "I gave him money for his business." Ashley, Rebecca, you are not stupid. You are not naive. You are not at fault. You are victims of a predator who made deceiving women his hobby. And everyone watching this needs to understand that this is what modern emotional abuse looks like. 1,118 viewers. This isn't just a cheating scandal. This is systematic predatory behavior. Jake didn't just happen to juggle multiple relationships. He engineered a system designed to extract maximum emotional, physical, and financial benefit from women while giving as little as possible in return. My phone started ringing again. Jake, of course. Should I answer it again? What do you think? The comments were unanimous. Yes. I answered and put it on speaker again. "Emma, please." Jake's voice was different now, less angry, more desperate. "Please just stop this. We can talk about everything, I can explain." Explain what, Jake? Explain how you accidentally created detailed notes about how to manipulate multiple women. Explain how you accidentally maintained separate phone numbers and identities. Explain how you accidentally took money from Ashley for your fake business expansion. I never meant for any of this to happen. Bullshit. You meant for all of this to happen. You planned all of this to happen. Ashley, Rebecca, are you still here? Are you hearing this? This is what he's going to tell each of you when he calls you after this, that he never meant for it to happen, that it just got complicated, that he can explain everything. 1,234 viewers. Jake, tell everyone watching why you have notes about our daddy issues and our insecurities and our work schedules. Tell them why you researched our social media before dating us. Tell them why you customized your entire personality for each relationship. Silence. Tell them about the weekend you're supposed to be at a work conference, but you're actually planning to go to the Catskills with Ashley. Tell them about the Buffalo job that doesn't exist. Tell them about all the times you've been working late when you were actually with other women. Emma, Tell them how you told Melissa she was the first person you'd ever wanted to build a future with. Tell them how you told Sarah she was the most understanding woman you'd ever met. Tell them how you told Rebecca she was different from anyone you'd ever dated. The exact same lines, Jake. Word for word. This is insane, Emma. You're destroying my life. No, Jake. You destroyed your own life. You destroyed Ashley's trust. You destroyed Melissa's plans for the future. You destroyed Sarah's hope that she'd found someone who understood her. You destroyed Rebecca's belief that she'd found someone genuine. I'm just making sure everyone knows what you destroyed. 1,307 viewers. The comments were a wall of support, outrage, and people sharing the stream. And you know what the really fucked up part is? You're not even sorry. You're not sorry that you hurt us. You're not sorry that you lied to us. You're sorry that you got caught. You're sorry that your system broke down. You're sorry that you can't control the narrative anymore. Jake hung up again. There he goes. But that's okay, because we don't need Jake to finish this story. Ashley, Rebecca, are you still here? Because I have something for you. The comments confirmed they were both still watching, both presumably in shock, both probably questioning everything they thought they knew about their relationships. I'm going to put my contact information in the comments. If you want to talk, if you want to see more evidence, if you want to just vent to someone who understands exactly what you're going through, I'm here. And I'm betting there are other women who haven't found this stream yet. We're going to find them too. 1,456 viewers. Everyone else who's watching, I need you to share this. Share it everywhere. Jake Morrison needs to be famous for this. Women in Albany, Syracuse, Buffalo, and right here in town need to know what kind of man they might be dating. His friends need to know what kind of person they've been defending. His family needs to know what their son, brother, cousin, whatever, has been doing to innocent women. The screen was filling with comments about sharing, screenshotting, tagging people, spreading the word. Jake Morrison, if you're still watching, here's what's going to happen next. Every woman you've manipulated is going to find out the truth. Every lie you've told is going to be exposed. Every promise you've made to multiple women is going to be revealed. Every single person in your life is going to know exactly what kind of man you really are. 1,512 viewers. This stream is being recorded. These screenshots are being saved. This evidence is going to follow you wherever you go, whatever new identity you try to build. You wanted to build an empire, Jake? Congratulations. You've built an empire of evidence that you're a predator. The adrenaline was starting to wear off and exhaustion was creeping in, but I had one more thing to say. To everyone watching who might be in a similar situation, trust your instincts. If something feels off, it probably is. If stories don't add up, there's probably a reason. If someone seems too good to be true, they probably are. And if someone makes you feel crazy for asking questions, they're probably hiding something worth questioning. 1,618 viewers. Ashley, Rebecca, I'll be in touch. Everyone else, thank you for witnessing this. Thank you for sharing this. Thank you for helping make sure Jake Morrison never gets to do this to anyone else again. I took a breath, looked directly into the camera one last time, and smiled. Jake, if you're still watching, you ruined my life? Baby, I haven't even started ruining yours yet. And I ended the stream. The silence after I ended the stream was deafening. My laptop screen showed the final viewer count. 1,847 people had watched Jake Morrison's empire crumble in real time. My hands were shaking, adrenaline, exhaustion, maybe a little bit of what the fuck did I just do panic setting in. Then my phone exploded. Not literally, obviously, but close enough. Notifications were pouring in faster than I could process them. Facebook messages, friend requests, comments on the video that was now saved to my profile for eternity. My regular phone was buzzing with texts from friends who'd watched, co-workers who'd seen it shared, family members who were probably questioning my sanity. But the messages that mattered most came through within the first hour. Ashley first, can we talk? I need to know everything. Then Rebecca, is this real? Please tell me this is real so I know I'm not losing my mind. A number I didn't recognize, but the message made it clear. This is Melissa. Someone shared your video. Is Jake Morrison from Syracuse the same Jake? The contractor? And finally, from another unknown number, my name is Sarah. I think Jake is my boyfriend too. 4 women. 4 fucking women, all reaching out because they'd watched me destroy their boyfriend's life on social media and realized they were living the same nightmare I'd been living. I spent the next 3 hours on the phone with them. Ashley first, then Rebecca, then a conference call with all of us that turned into something between a therapy session and a war council. Melissa joined us around midnight, and Sarah called in around 1 a.m. after she'd put her daughter to bed and could process what she'd seen. Listening to their stories was like hearing my own experiences echoed back to me with slight variations. Ashley had been planning to introduce Jake to her parents next month. Rebecca had been saving money to help him expand his business. Melissa had turned down a date with a perfectly nice guy from her gym because she was in a committed relationship. Sarah had been letting Jake stay over on weekends when he was working in the area, which meant he'd been using her apartment as a free hotel while juggling the rest of us. We were all at different stages of the same con. Ashley was the furthest along. She'd been talking about moving in together. Sarah was the most recent, only 2 months in, still in the honeymoon phase where his lies seemed charming instead of suspicious. But we'd all fallen for the same basic playbook, the same carefully crafted persona designed to exploit our specific vulnerabilities. The really fucked up part? We all liked each other. In different circumstances, we probably would have been friends. Ashley was hilarious, with this dry sense of humor that had us all cracking up despite the situation. Rebecca was fiercely protective. She kept asking if we were all okay, if we needed anything, ready to drive to Albany or Syracuse or Buffalo to personally comfort any of us. Melissa was the practical one, already talking about evidence preservation and whether we should file police reports. And Sarah, despite being the newest victim, was the angriest, channeling pure maternal rage about someone who would lie to a single mother. We made a pact that night. None of us would ever respond to Jake again. No explanation calls, no closure conversations, no chances for him to manipulate us one more time. Complete radio silence starting immediately. We also decided to stay in touch with each other. We'd all been isolated in our individual relationships with Jake, but together we were formidable. Ashley suggested we create a group chat called Jake's Victims Support Group, which was so dark it was perfect. But the real satisfaction came over the next few days, watching Jake's carefully constructed life implode in slow motion. The Facebook Live video had been shared 312 times within 24 hours. It had reached people in multiple states, multiple social circles, multiple aspects of Jake's life that he'd worked so hard to keep separate. His mother called me, his actual mother, to apologize for her son's behavior and ask if I was okay. His business partner tagged him in the comments asking if they needed to discuss some things. His gym buddies were roasting him in the comments section. Ashley found out he'd been using her nurse's schedule access to verify when she was working nights. Rebecca discovered he'd been taking photos of her apartment setup to show other women when he was house-sitting for a friend. Melissa realized he'd been mining her social media for information about her students to create fake stories about his consulting work with schools. Sarah found charges on his phone bill that proved he'd been checking her location during his visits. The level of premeditation was staggering. This wasn't a man who'd gotten sloppy juggling multiple relationships. This was a man who'd built a sophisticated operation designed to exploit women systematically. 3 days after the live stream, Ashley texted our group chat, "Just saw Jake at the grocery store. He looked like absolute shit and tried to hide from me behind the cereal aisle like a 5-year-old. A week later, Rebecca reported, "His landlord called me asking about Jake's business partner who was supposed to co-sign his lease renewal. Apparently he used my name and number as a reference without telling me. Told the landlord exactly what kind of businessman Jake really is." Melissa found out he'd been evicted from his Syracuse project site apartment, which turned out to be a month-to-month rental he'd been using for their dates. Sarah discovered he'd been borrowing her car when she was at work, racking up miles between cities for his other relationships. But the coup de grace came 2 weeks after my little Facebook performance. I got a message from a woman named Jennifer. "I saw your video about Jake Morrison. I dated him 6 months ago. He told me he was moving out of state for work, but I think he was just moving on to new victims. I have some things you might want to see." There were more. Of course there were more. Jennifer had screenshots of the same lies, the same manipulation tactics, the same promises about being different and special. She'd been discarded when Jake's scheduling became too complex, told some bullshit story about a work opportunity that required him to focus on his career. Jennifer connected us with 2 other women, Emma, yes, another Emma because Jake was apparently not creative with names, and Brittany. Both had similar stories. Both had been cycled out of Jake's system when maintaining the lies became too complicated. We were up to 7 women. 7 women who'd fallen for the same con, told the same lies, manipulated by the same systematic predator. That's when I realized something that simultaneously horrified and satisfied me. I hadn't just exposed Jake's current operation. I'd created a paper trail that connected years of his behavior. A pattern that could be documented, verified, shared. Evidence that this wasn't just a mistake or a rough patch or poor judgment. This was predatory behavior with a long history. The Facebook video had become something bigger than personal revenge. It had become a cautionary tale, a resource for other women, a permanent record of exactly what sophisticated emotional manipulation looked like in the age of social media. 3 weeks after going live, I ran into Jake at a coffee shop downtown. He looked awful, exhausted, paranoid, constantly checking his phone like he was expecting more bad news. Which, fair enough, he probably was. He saw me before I saw him, and for a moment I thought he might actually approach me. Try one last manipulation attempt, maybe. Appeal to my sympathy, or my sense of fairness, or whatever emotion he thought he could still exploit. Instead, he just stared at me with this look of pure hatred. Like I'd done something terrible to him instead of simply telling the truth about what he'd done to us. Like I was the villain in this story. I smiled at him. A real smile, genuine and satisfied and completely free of any lingering attachment to the man I'd thought I loved. Then I took out my phone, opened the camera, and pretended to start recording. Jake practically ran out of that coffee shop. Sitting there, sipping my overpriced latte and watching through the window as Jake Morrison speed walked down the street like a man being chased by his own reputation, I felt something I hadn't expected. Peace. Not the vindictive satisfaction I'd been running on for weeks, not the adrenaline rush of successful revenge, but actual peace. The kind that comes from knowing you've done the right thing, even when the right thing was messy and public and probably a little bit crazy. Jake Morrison had built his life around exploiting women's desire to love and be loved. He'd weaponized our trust, our hope, our basic human need for connection. He'd turned our vulnerabilities into profit centers and our emotions into a game he could win by cheating. But predators only thrive in silence. They count on shame, isolation, and the fear that no one will believe their victims. Jake's whole system depended on each of us thinking we were alone, thinking we were the only ones, thinking we were somehow responsible for missing the obvious signs. By going public, by connecting his victims, by creating an undeniable record of his behavior, I'd destroyed the foundation his entire operation was built on. Sure, Jake would probably try to rebuild somewhere else, with new identities and new stories. But it would be harder now. Much harder. The internet is forever, and Jake Morrison was now permanently associated with systematic emotional abuse. Any woman who Googled his name would find my video, find our stories, find a detailed breakdown of exactly how he operated. I'd turned his own system against him. He'd used social media to research and manipulate us. I'd used social media to expose and destroy him. He'd built a network of isolated victims. I'd connected those victims into a support system that would outlast any damage he'd caused. 3 months later, Ashley, Rebecca, Melissa, Sarah, and I still text almost daily. We've become genuine friends, bonded by shared experience but sustained by actual affection and respect. Ashley got into nursing school. Rebecca opened her coffee shop. Melissa started dating that guy from her gym. Sarah's daughter asks about her aunties from other cities who send her birthday cards. We've also heard from dozens of other women who've shared similar experiences with different men. Apparently, Jake Morrison wasn't unique. He was just one example of a particular type of predator who'd learned to weaponize modern dating culture. But here's what I learned from destroying Jake Morrison's life on Facebook Live. Revenge, when it's actually justice, doesn't leave you empty. It doesn't make you the villain of your own story. It fills you with the satisfaction of knowing you've protected other people from experiencing what you experienced. Jake Morrison screamed that I'd ruined his life, but he'd ruined his own life the moment he decided that other people's emotions were tools for his entertainment. I just made sure everyone knew about it. And honestly, I'd do it again in a heartbeat.